Rev up your engines!
Here's one you can't believe how sleazy Volkswagen is. Okay, in the town of Libertyville, a woman's car was hijacked with their baby in it. And it happened to be a Volkswagen Atlas. It had one of these GPS things in. So, the police call up Volkswagen and say, look, this kid's been hijacked in a car. Can you please give us the information of where it is? And the woman at Volkswagen says, I'm sorry, I can't give you that information. And here's what the woman said. The trial period for the software in the car had ended, and she couldn't give the police that information. This is the insanity of a company like Volkswagen. There is a child that's been kidnapped, and they don't want to give the information because, well, the trial period's over. The detectives who were trying to find it had to get their own credit card out. It took half an hour to set it up. Then they got the information. Now, luckily, by then, the police had already found the car and gotten the baby back, right? So it's a happy ending. No thanks to Volkswagen. What kind of a scumbag company, knowing that there is a baby kidnapped in a car, and they wouldn't give the information because, I'm sorry, the trial service of your subscription for GPS has expired. There's something amiss in Volkswagen. What kind of a company would even allow something like this? Have people who work for them being that ignorant to not give the information to the police? It's just, like I say, don't buy a Volkswagen. Now I'd say definitely never buy a Volkswagen. This is the kind of company they run. Well, here's one to show you how sleazy Dodge dealerships are. A soldier ordered a Dodge Challenger SRT Demon 170. The service member paid $50,000 over manufacturer suggested retail because they said, well, these are the last ones going to make. They took them to the cleaners, charged them 50 grand more than what the list price was. But then he goes to get it, and it's gone. They sold it to someone else who paid an even higher markup. And here's the hilarious thing. So they sold it to another guy for more money than the serviceman wanted to pay. So the new guy was all excited, and he put it on Facebook. Oh, look, and it was one of these groups of people that like Dodges, right? The serviceman was in the same group of Facebook as the guy who bought it. And both sides figured out what had happened, that they'd sold it out from under the other guy. You can't blame the guy who actually bought it. What did he know? They said, here's one. How much are you going to give us? And they sold it to him. Then the dealership even started lying. The dealer claimed no such car was ever ordered in the serviceman's name. Mac Hike employees told the news that they've been instructed to let this blow over. The Dodge CEO finally comes in and sees this is in a disaster area for promotion for the advertising, right? They gave the guy a wrong one. They had a black one. They don't make them anymore, so you can't get a new one. They don't make, and they're having the factory painted green for the guy, and he's going to get it. But he had to go through all this because of how sleazy the Dodge dealerships are. Car dealerships can be extremely sleazy. You have to understand. They're not part of the company. They are independent owners who sell cars that the company makes. Stellantis owns Dodge. They make the vehicles. Then independent dealerships owned by Americans sell the cars for as much money as they possibly can. And in this case, the poor serviceman had already paid 50 grand over list, and then they sold the car to somebody else anyways. And then he tried to deny and say, oh, he's not really in the military. Oh, he didn't really order it. At least the CEO has some class. And he came in and he got him one. They got to repaint the thing because it's black, and since they don't make them, they can't make them a green one. They're going to repaint it green. But it just shows you how sleazy these dealerships are. This is why I never, ever want to deal with those people. That's another reason I buy used cars. I'll never have to deal with them. I buy used cars from the people who own them. I don't go to a dealership where they're going to ream me over. I bought a Toyota for my son once for $1,500, and that same car with 100,000 miles more was for sale at the local Toyota dealer for $8,500 for a car I paid $1,500 for a used that had 100,000 miles less than the one at the dealer. That just shows you. You don't want to go to these places. Mandarina says, should I keep my 2001 Infiniti i30? My boyfriend and I are thinking of selling cars. I love my 2001 Infiniti i30, and I want it to last a few more years. My boyfriend says we're fools to keep it. You should probably marry him. He sounds like a smart guy. Infinitis are the luxury brand of Nissan. Nissans have problems as it is. The Infinitis doubly so. As they age, they become endless money pits because the parts cost a small fortune. They don't sell enough of them to be much of an aftermarket. So, to give you a perfect example, I worked on an Infiniti once that needed a power steering hose assembly. It was like $650, right? I could get a power steering hose assembly for a Lexus for $75 because they sold so many more. that I could go to discount auto parts stores and get the part there. But with Nissan, Infiniti in this case, same company, it's just fancy ones, I couldn't get the hose anywhere else because there's no aftermarket. They didn't sell enough, so I had to go to the dealer. I had to pay that ridiculous price. And that's how they are. Plus, they do break down their catalytic converters, go bad all the time on Infinitis. They don't make them all that well. They get older, and they cost a small fortune to fix. So listen to your boyfriend. You want to get rid of a car, get rid of your Infiniti. You don't want to keep that thing any longer. It's an 01. You didn't give the mileage. But hey, it's 23 years old. I'm sure it's got an awful lot of miles on it. If I were you, I would unload that thing while you can. If it runs good now, great. Unload it. Maybe take it to CarMax. See if they offer you a lot of money and get rid of that thing. Well, you know, the Postal Service is going to have a problem with their electric vehicles. You know, they ordered a small percentage of electric vehicles to deliver stuff. Well, get this. Last year, the USPS had $70,000 worth of electronic charging equipment and service equipment stolen from the post office. They stole the charging machines, IT equipment, computers and stuff. They got to have a setup. You know, the thing is, if people understand the money is being wasted on this stuff. Over the next few years, the post office claims they're going to acquire more than 41,000 charging stations to support 66,000 new electric vehicles. And you start to think, they got fleets, right? If there's only 66,000 vehicles, 41,000 chargers, that's almost a charger per vehicle, which is kind of crazy, you know. If you got a fleet, you can do something a lot more efficient like that. But then again, look, it's the post office. They're inefficient. They just throw money helter-skelter all over the place to keep raising the price of stamps. I mean, it's amazing that they still exist if you think about it. Snail mail, everybody uses Gmail. It's almost as bad as when you deal with the dinosaur people in business where they said, will you fax it to us? Why on earth would you go out and buy a fax machine and hook it up? Or if they force it, then you got to go to some place that has a fax machine and pay them to fax the stuff to them. I mean, join the 21st century, people. And the post office, really, they're not that much of a part of the 21st century. And it'll be electrified, right? And everybody will throw money away. People are stealing things from there. Wait till they start having problems with them breaking. They're not going to have any mechanics at the post office that know how to fix electric vehicles. Come on now. They got enough problem fixing their gasoline cars. Put electricity into the next. Where are they going to get guys that are that trained, that are that good with electronics? They're not going to work for the post office for peanut money. They'll go in the real world and make big money being electronic stuff. They're not going to take peanut pay and work at the post office fixing electrical vehicles. Of course they're not going to. At their pay scale that they pay people, they're not going to get anybody that's qualified to do that. And of course, that's one of the big problems with electric battery cars to begin with, is there's nobody to fix them. And since the dealerships pay such poor salaries to the workers, what they actually pay them, that they're not going to get that many qualified people that learn all that electronic stuff to work for low pay like that. It's just not going to happen. Robert, 8778, says, my 2003 Toyota has a fuel line leak under the hood. It's a rubber line between two metal fuel pipes, but has special fittings and clamps on each end. Can I just replace it with off-the-shelf fuel line if I can find the right diameter? I think the metal pipes are the same diameter on both ends. The problem is, you're going to put a hose over there. Your hose doesn't have a lock ring on it. When you're connecting hoses, you really need to connect them on a barbed metal part that has the barbs. Then the rubber goes over the barb, clamp holds it on, and it won't leak. You can't use a regular line. You need a line that's high pressure fuel line, and you could do it that way. The problem with what you're planning on doing is it could pop off because it doesn't have the inside part that snaps on and locks in place. You're better off going and buying the real line that fits on there. Unless you want to redo the whole thing, you'd have to cut it off and put a barbed end on. It'd be a giant pain in the butt. Just go buy the part that it needs and put it in. I would not put a rubber line on it because it might fly off from the pressure. Well, I guess it's because all the people are leaving California. I couldn't believe this when I read it, but it seems to be true from what I've researched. California state health insurance to cover sex changes for illegal immigrants. I guess since everybody's leaving California, they want to keep whoever's there, and even if they're illegal, kowtow to them to give them what they want so they don't leave the state of California and it's all empty full of no people. California is in debt, right? Yet they're okaying the expenditure for sex changes for illegal immigrants. You really can't believe this nonsense that goes on in that state. California's Medi-Cal covers the cost for hormone therapy and procedures that, quote, bring primary and secondary gender characteristics into conformity with the individual's identified gender, including ancillary services such as hair removal incident to those services. Yeah, they're even getting hair removal now free to illegal immigrants. I don't know. There's just something about California. It's another universe, right? I mean, they're into debt. People are leaving. They've gone so wrapped up into their own wokeness. And here's a hilarious thing. Nearly 700,000 illegal immigrants between the ages of 26 and 49 qualified this as of a few days ago, January 1st, 2024. California has officially gone insane. They're now in the Marianas Trench, and who knows what the next one's going to be. I just can't wait to report on it. It's just unbelievable, really. So if you never want to miss another one of my new car repair videos, remember to ring that bell.